The symptoms of trauma are immediate.
Now, we all know that in the majority of video games today that involve teams shooting at each other, the medic is always the most important character. Hogs of War is no exception, with the player being able to upgrade their standard grunt up through the medical class ranks of the orderly, medic and surgeon. As it is with the other three classes that we've looked at in this bootcamp series, each promotion comes with an increase in health and firepower, but the medical dude is different for obvious reasons. For starters, the orderly sees an increase in health from 50 to 60 and is given some healing hands. Oh, and a sash, I guess to make the grunt feel a bit better about his promotion, considering that he can only really throw grenades and heal his teammates with his hands. Essentially, the orderly is perfect for getting through the very first island of Hogshead, as the accumulation of promotion points after mission 5 means that by the second island, the player should have already promoted them up to the next rank. Speaking of which, the medic sees a further increase in health from 60 to 80, and they are given a wide variety of healing tools. They still have the likes of the bayonet rifle, grenades and healing hands, but with the addition of the medical darts and medical balls. The issue with the orderly was the lack of range, as the healing hands requires the player to be close up to the pig needing treatment, but now the medic has the luxury of being able to heal teammates from much farther away. The medical darts can be fired from a rifle at the target that needs healing, while the medical darts can act in the same way as grenades, so they can be bounced or ricocheted off water in some instances in order to reach the injured pig. The other minor benefit of the medical ball is that it can heal pigs within a certain radius, meaning that the player is actually able to heal multiple pigs with a single shot. Both of these items can heal a maximum of 40, while the healing hands deal 60 health in total. The key thing about the medic class is that you should use it to prioritize healing above everything else. This class is the sole provider of health to your entire team, but that's not to say that the medic can't defend itself. But you have to ask yourself, the more you play Hogs of War, how often do you end up using this class to take out enemies? Because I have to say that most of the time, I find the kills the medic gets are final blows, times when healing is not needed, when you have the objective complete, or you're just finishing off these final few pigs that are on low health. Other than that, the medic class should always be looking to heal teammates at all costs, which requires you as the player to plan out your method of healing, so understanding the maximum amount of health you can provide in a single turn and how you should go about distributing it. When this class reaches its final rank of Surgeon, it sees an increase in health from 80 to 120, alongside additional offensive weapons being added. So the Surgeon is now better equipped to allow them to deal tactical damage to the enemy through the introduction of the Tranquilizer Dart and the Rifle Burst. If the enemy is hit by a Tranquilizer, it will do 20 damage and they will miss their next turn, which in the later stages of the single player campaign can provide your team with a huge tactical advantage in the long run. The Rifle Burst isn't particularly accurate, but if the full damage is dealt to the enemy pig, they can receive a hefty 45 damage, which when you think about it, is more than a sniper rifle or a heavy machine gun. For me, I see the Surgeon as being a perfect balance between healing and damage. Like as an orderly or a medic, you're not expected to damage the enemy, that's more of a secondary task, but when you become a surgeon, there's more of a choice there for the player in, which is it going to be, healing or damage? Because even when you use the tranquilizer and the rifle bursts, you still have the grenades and the standard rifle to fall back on. Again, not that you have to deal damage, but I feel as a surgeon you can be more involved in the firefights. So those are the three main ranks within the medic class in the final version of the game, but how has this class changed in regards to development? Was it always about healing, or was there a time when this rank of pig could offer more to the table? Well, back in the day, the medic class had a different structure when it came to health, with the orderly having 70, the medic having 90, and the surgeon still having 120 health. This structure did change going into the alpha, with the orderly increasing once again to 110, the medic to 120, and the surgeon to 140. Their weaponry was also different, with none of the ranks actually carrying grenades. Instead, it seemed as though more of the focus was on healing, with the orderly carrying a knife, rifle, medical darts and healing hands, and the development of this class remained the same actually going into the alpha, where we see a major ability being given to the medic and surgeon rank, the ability to build. As we've discussed previously regarding the engineer class, the ability to build structures was intended to be a key ingredient in Hogs of War, but ultimately was cut for a whole host of reasons. Nevertheless, the fact that the medic class had the ability completely changes how we can look at this character and how different things would have been if building objects remained today. The medic has the ability to build a single medic tent which differs in size and HP compared to the larger MASH tent that the surgeon was able to build. The other difference is the amount of healing each building could produce should a pig jump inside, with medical tents being limited to 50 HP of healing per turn, while the MASH tent could be able to heal an entire pig to their max health.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
These buildings and their mechanics still remain in today's game, most notably the medical tents that are used on Mission 17's Geneva Convention, and the MASH tents that are used on the likes of Mission 8, Mission 10, and a bunch of others. The more you think about the idea of being able to build these types of tents though, the more you realise how big of a flaw they would have been. Granted, on the face of it, these tents would provide a huge boost for your team in regards to health upkeep, with pigs being able to retreat to use these tents to recharge their health in some way other than having to solely rely on a single orderly, medic or surgeon. But that's also the issue. By building these tents, you automatically make them a prime target on the map, which is made even more difficult by the fact that the map size differs greatly to what was originally intended in the early days of development. In the very early days, maps were much bigger, so you weren't at such high risk of being spotted by the enemy. But fast forward to later on, and as you can see, building a single tent takes up quite a lot of space. The other issue is that the build ability would take up the turn of the medic or surgeon using it, thus taking away a turn that could be used to heal up teammates. Then again, the pace of the game was much slower during the alpha phase of development, so perhaps they would have worked better in comparison to the final version of the game. Not to mention that the health pools were bigger as well, so matches were much slower, and I think, yes, it does take up your turn, but on the flip side, you know, you're building something that in the long run could help you. The build ability in itself is just risk and reward. You take the risk of building something and it being destroyed and damaging the pigs that are inside or near it, or, you know, you have the reward of healing your pigs and keeping a constant upkeep of healing and not relying solely on the single or multiple medics, surgeons or orderlies that you may have on your team. Oh, and I'm not sure if it was intentional at the time, but medical balls could be used to damage enemy pigs, which is pretty weird. Ultimately, for me, the medic class holds the highest position across all ranks. I would go as far to say that this class of pig is up there with the elite pigs of the Commando, Hero and Legend, because the healing abilities that this class offers is just far greater than the damage output of any pig across the entire game. The elite pigs do have ways of healing themselves and indeed other teammates, but they will never be able to output the same amount of healing as a single medic or surgeon. There have been many times during the single player campaign, predominantly during hard mode, that I have not upgraded my surgeon to a commando solely because I know that I would be losing my primary source of healing. As soon as you become a commando, all you have in regards to healing is medical darts, which you then have to decide whether it's worth healing yourself or your teammate. Do you follow the same procedure as me? Do you keep your surgeon or do you upgrade them? Let me know in the comments below. In the meantime though guys, that is going to wrap everything up for this episode of Bootcamp. I hope you have enjoyed and indeed learned something new today. But this video does of course mark the end of the different classes that we have covered, but the Bootcamp series will continue going into the future as there is plenty more stuff to cover. So I hope you can stay tuned for more videos, subscribe if you are new, and I will catch you guys later for the next one.
Destination